you.
I'm Marvin Pineda from Capital Strategies Group, here with our client Jeff, who is the general manager for ARCA, and we ask for your support, and he will be testifying in favor of the bill.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman and members, my name is Jeff Wallace, and I'm Vice President and General Manager for Appliance Recycling Centers of America, ARCA, which has a facility in Compton where we recycle old washers and refrigerators that have been removed from low-income families who receive energy-efficient appliances at no cost through the Energy Savings Assistance Program and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Refrigerator Exchange and Replacement Program. ARCA supports AB 88, which will provide a sales and use tax exemption when a public utility purchases an energy-efficient appliance that is provided at no cost to the low-income families. The ARCA Compton facility currently employs 52 individuals. Since 2006, ARCA has installed more than 140,000 appliances in Southern California homes and the same number of appliances have been recycled. The program leads to safe recycling of old, inefficient appliances, which help reduce illegal dumping and ensures the hazardous components and materials, including PCB containing capacitors, CFCs, HFC, HCFC refrigerants, polyurethane foam insulation, and recyclable materials such as ferrous and non-ferrous metals, plastics, and glass are properly handled. The legislation is important because the savings that will result from the sale and use tax exemption will be used to serve more low-income families, which will receive appliances that will reduce their energy costs and water use. Also, families that receive these appliances have fewer out-of-pocket expenses for repairs since these appliances come with warranties. The loss of any revenue from this tax exemption will be offset by the generation of income from increases in employment and because families will have more money in their pockets to make other purchases to meet their needs. If this legislation does pass, the ARCA facility in Compton will be able to also employ additional employees to handle the additional deliveries and recycling that will come from it. Thank you so much for allowing me to testify, and I ask for your support of this bill.
Thank you. Other support witnesses?
Sylvia Solis Shaw on behalf of City of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. We believe that this program will help build upon successes of local energy-efficient appliance programs, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Dunn for the California Apartment Association, representing the largest apartment owners here in the state of California. We are, as an association, committed to trying to help the state conserve energy. We think this goes a long way to help with those efforts and support the bill. Thank you.
Silvio Ferrari with the California Building Industry Association in support.
Angie Minetti with the California Retailers Association in support. With California dealing with an unprecedented drought situation, we're happy to support AB 88, which will help Californians reduce their water use and also experience energy savings. Thank you.
Olivia Regalia on behalf of Californians Against Waste, Environment California, Sierra Club California in support.
Hello, Noé Paramo, California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation, in strong support of AB 88. Thank you.
Marco Lizárraga, representing La Cooperativa Campesina de California, a statewide organization that serves farm workers, in support.
Kelly Ditto on behalf of California League Conservation Voters in support.
Anyone else in opposition?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Dorothy Holzen with the California State Association of Counties. We have an opposed unless amended position, as was accurately captured in the committee's analysis. Our concern is really with the local share of sales and use tax. We have no problem if the state would like to commit their portion of the sales tax to this program, but due to the significant fiscal impacts and our ability to provide critical programs at the county level, we feel this bill unnecessarily is using the sales and use tax portion, and we therefore have an opposed unless amended position. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Samantha Corbin, California Tax Reform Association, also in opposition in this bill, to this bill. Traditionally, funding for these types of programs has actually come from the, Sometimes I forget what bill I'm talking about in this committee. This revenue has actually never come from the general fund. Traditionally, it's allocated by the PUC. We don't believe the general fund is an appropriate resource to fund this type of program, and for that reason, we oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Okay, going back to the committee. Any questions? Mr. DeBobne.
I just want to thank the author for this, and I think I've already signed on as a co-author. I've seen this program work firsthand in my community. I will tell you, very few times do we have the kind of diversity in support of bills we just saw between business groups, environmental groups, and community groups all coming together. This clearly will have an impact on our communities. We use roughly less electricity as a state than we did 30 years ago. A big reason for that is the efficiency we've seen in our appliances today compared to appliances from the early 80s. I read recently that a refrigerator in 1980 uses a refrigerator today in 1 month of electricity from a refrigerator from 1980. So you can see how much more efficient electronics and appliances have become in the last 30 years. And this is really, I think, just a great example of a carrot when it comes to environmental stewardship that the government can provide to individuals to allow them to really start being able to use less energy, use less water, and do so in a way that will help stimulate the economy. So I want to thank the author for this, and it shows a great example of where we can come together and work to create more carrots and not just have sticks when it comes to these kind of policies.
Thank you. Anyone else in the committee? So just one quick question for me, Mr. Gomez. I believe as the opposition mentioned, many of these programs come in the form of rebates, and I was wondering why you chose to use a sales tax exemption versus the more traditional rebate type program.
Yeah, so what's happened in the past is that some appliances have been provided to families at no cost, right? Because and what's happened, some companies have not paid sales tax. So companies have not privately benefited. You serve more families. So if you move forward with taxing every transaction, that means you're serving 10% less families. So that's where the idea comes from. It's if you tax exempt the program, you save about 10%, and those funds would then be used to continue to serve the same amount of families that have been served in the past.
I see. So you're saying that by taking away the taxes, then you could utilize more funding from these programs to cover more appliances. Is that
correct?
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
And also, this bill was a result of an audit that found that there wasn't a specific exemption for these kind of programs. So we often do this in government where we have a program to have some kind of benefit, right, to save energy, water, but then we end up taxing it. I ended up having a bill that dealt with rebates for turf removal, right? We had no specific tax exemption for that program, but when you actually look at it, people were on the hook as a tax liability. So what we ended up doing is we had to create an exemption for that program. So we often have to balance values, right? The need to appropriately tax individuals, but then to make sure that the taxes don't undermine the primary goal that we're trying to achieve by a particular program. And that's what we're trying to do with this bill, to expand it.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Then, without objection, we'll be referring AB 88 to suspense, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Olson. File item 8, AB 1161.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The benefits of an early education are well documented, both for students later on in school, but also in the workplace and in life. And although the state provides access to early education programs, our counties are struggling to meet the demands of current enrollment trends. Due to understandable budget constraints on preschool programs, there are too many families vying for too few spots for their children. According to current rates, there are over 200,000 children awaiting state preschool slots in California. Something needs to be done to ensure that these families seeking to take advantage of the benefits of early education for their children are able to access these early education opportunities. So AB 1161 is a creative bipartisan solution that creates more early education opportunities for the neediest of students by harnessing the power of the private sector. This public-private partnership would put our students on the right path in school and in life by preparing them for academic success and ultimately ensuring that they are better prepared for the workforce. Specifically, AB 1161 creates a 5-year pilot program in which businesses would be provided with a tax credit for a contribution to a newly created California Preschool Investment Fund, or CalPIF. The program is fully self-supporting and has no impact on Prop 98 or other programs because CalPIF would be required, in the language of the bill, to reimburse the general fund for the cost of all tax credits and administrative fees. 5 counties would be chosen by the Department of Education based upon factors such as the length of the county's wait list of individuals seeking public child care assistance, its ability to increase the number of preschool slots available to children in that county, and its economic need. Last year, the identical bill moved through the process, and we had a little hiccup in Senate appropriations, so Speaker Atkins and I are working together this year to try to move the bill all the way through the process and into law, recognizing how many tens of thousands of children are in need for these programs. There is an issue that we're working on with the Department of Education. We're trying to identify which counties in the state have the highest wait lists right now, and we're working with some of the interested parties in this bill to identify that list so that we're aware of where those areas are and if we could target them maybe more specifically as the bill moves forward. So thank you for your attention. With me today, I have Nicole Gehring on behalf of the Junior League of California to speak to the merits of AB 1161.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olson.
Chairman Ting and members of the Assembly Revenue and Tax Committee, Nicole Gehring. I am a senior delegate for the Junior Leagues of California State Public Affairs Committee, here today speaking in support of AB 1161 related to establishing a preschool pilot program utilizing private sector investment to increase access to preschool for low-income families. The Junior Leagues of California, SPAC group, we are a nonpartisan, all-volunteer organization that's been involved in legislative advocacy for over 40 years. We represent a coalition of 70 junior leagues in California, comprised of more than 10,000 women statewide. SPAC supports the Junior League's mission to improve communities through effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. We support legislation in areas related to our league projects and our 4 focus areas, which are education, health, family support, and violence prevention. The Junior Leagues of California are committed to ensuring that all the children and young adults in the state of California receive educational opportunities that are developmentally appropriate, increase achievement, and lead to workplace marketability. So the Junior Leagues currently of Bakersfield, Los Angeles, Monterey County, Napa, Sonoma, Orange County, Pasadena, Palo Alto, Mid-Peninsula, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego, San Joaquin, and Sacramento all participate in various areas related to academic success and childhood initiatives. So we believe that we're supporting AB 1161 because we believe it will expand slots and give increased access to students who are all appropriate for education and will increase academic success in California. So we're here to encourage your support of this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in support?
Yes, Ray Burnell with the California Catholic Conference. We came on in strong support the middle of last week. We see this bill as really opening up vital opportunities for preschool education, especially for low-income families among a variety of public and private providers. We urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition?
Samantha Corbin with the California Tax Reform Association. We have been in conversation with the author's office and do still have some concerns about the revenue neutrality of the bill, but we'll continue to have those conversations and hopefully can remove that opposition at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, going back to that, to the committee. Any committee questions or comments? Mr. Gibson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just have a few comments, rather. First of all, I'm excited about this bill. I would like to be added on as a co-author of the bill. Again, we're speaking of, for me specifically, a district that has double-digit unemployment. we have some schools that are being challenged. Income disparity exists in the community. This program, as I've read it in its original form, it certainly would help individuals in my community, especially when it comes to pre-K, preschool. And I know the value of preschool and getting an early start on education. And if we don't begin to have conversations to do that, then we're dooming or not dooming, but we're looking at ways to continue this pipeline that exists in our state. More prisons, lack of opportunities for students going to college, and things of that nature. And so I think this is a step in the right direction, and I'm enthusiastically supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Anybody else? Quick question from me. In terms of the fund, it says that the money would go into the fund money would go into the general fund. Is that for preschool funding in particular? And if you could describe it in terms of where the money would go, that would be helpful.
Certainly. So the money would go into the California Preschool Investment Fund, CalPIF. It would be housed within the general fund, but its own separate program. And so the money that's donated would go directly into that program, and then the administrators of that program within the Department of Education would be reimbursing the general fund for the full cost of the tax credit and any administrative fees associated with allocating the funds that are generated.
And then in terms of funding preschools, how would that be determined? Do schools apply on their own? Is it public preschools or private preschools? Or
so with that, it would be the existing preschool programs. So the state preschool programs that are administered today through the Department of Education, it would just be working alongside those to increase the number of slots available at those existing schools.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Okay. Would you like to close?
Sure. First of all, thank you for your interest in coming on as a co-author. I'd be delighted to add you. As I said, we are working with the Department of Education to identify the counties that have the highest wait lists, but every expectation of mine is that both your counties and mine would probably land on that list. So appreciate your interest. I understand the bill's a candidate for suspense, and so would respectfully ask for an aye vote from the committee during your suspense hearing next week. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So without objection, we'll be referring AB 1161 to suspense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mainshine, item file item 10, AB 1280.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. Today, I'm presenting AB 1280. This bill would establish a statewide sales tax holiday for small businesses on the first Saturday following Thanksgiving, also known as Small Business Saturday. The sales tax exemption will only apply to small businesses that collected less than $200,000 in sales taxes in the previous year. Small businesses are the main driving engine of California's economy. There are 3.5 million small businesses in this state. Together, they account for 99% of all businesses and are currently creating 2/3 of all new jobs. Unfortunately, many of them are struggling to generate revenue and keep their doors open. Numerous small business owners even occasionally forego paying themselves so they can pay their employees and stay solvent. California is a heavily regulated state, making it difficult for small business owners to meet their obligations under the law. Most do not have in-house accountants and legal representatives. Consequently, it costs them nearly 3 times more to comply with tax laws than a typical big business, and regulations have a 37% greater impact on them than larger companies. Furthermore, 40% of all Americans with Disabilities Act lawsuits in the entire nation are filed in California, many of which are against small and minority-owned businesses. In addition, lawsuits under the state's Proposition 65 also disproportionately impact small business. AB 1280 sends a strong message to these vital contributors to our state's economy that they are important. California needs small businesses to thrive and create desperately needed jobs, as well as generate critical tax revenue year-round. This measure will highlight small businesses as viable places to shop and will be a huge incentive for consumers to turn out and support their local mom-and-pop stores. Today I have with me John Kabatek from the NFIB, Yolanda Benson with Cal Asian Chamber, and Lori Kammerer with Small Business California to testify in support and assist with any technical questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and I request your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Kabatek.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is John Kabatek, and I'm the California Executive Director of the National Federation of Independent Business. We serve small and independent businesses across the state and nation. NFIB thanks Assemblyman Mainshine and is proud to join other small business organizations as sponsors
of AB 1280. It is no surprise or secret that despite some reforms in recent years, California small businesses still face today a wall of uncertainty in their ability to keep their doors open and create jobs. As many of you may already know, California already has the highest income, statewide sales, and gas taxes in the nation. Small businesses have fewer resources, but on average pay the lion's share percentage-wise when compared to larger businesses or corporations, as you heard the Assemblyman speak. MSNBC reported that in recent years, small businesses in California have closed at a rate 69% higher than the national average. With the highest sales tax in the nation, statewide sales tax, and talk about even extending and expanding that sales tax, small business owners have very good reason to be uncertain and actually eager for relief in some way. It's important to keep in mind also that small business owners endure what I call the double whammy when it comes to sales tax. They both charge and pay the state sales tax together, notably when it comes to vendors. So it's kind of a double hit for small business owners. What the corner owner of the bookstore, coffee shop, grocery store are seeking these days is the same thing: hope. Hope that they can survive and keep their extended family of employees employed and continue to be a contributing part of their community. AB 1280 offers small businesses and consumers a dose of that hope by establishing this one-day sales and use tax exemption or holiday for our smallest of small businesses on the first Saturday following Thanksgiving, also known as Small Business Saturday. AB 1280 is fiscally responsible because it limits the consumer sales tax holiday to the smallest businesses that have collected less than $200,000 in sales taxes in the previous year. California would be joining 15 other states that are giving their small businesses a sales tax holiday beginning this year. In fact, Texas and Florida have reintroduced similar measures this year. It's time for California to be a positive leader for small business and jobs. I want to point out a few things. AB 1280 doesn't create or stop any new taxes, and it doesn't trump or prevent local government jurisdictions to levy their own taxes in addition to the statewide sales and use tax. It only applies to the state portion of the taxes collected, and actually local governments are free to enact a similar provision to help small businesses in their communities, and we encourage them to do so. AB 1280 simply asks you to continue this kind of important support with our #1 job creators. If anyone could truly benefit from this kind of jump start, it's our millions of struggling small businesses. It gives mom and pop owners, their employees, and others a dose of hope, and encourages people to patronize their businesses. And my last comment will be, we're grateful for the important steps the legislature has taken in recent years to support specific business sectors that have needed this jump start: manufacturers, tax credits, entertainment, and more recently, as you just heard, research and development tax credits introduced by the Speaker, which we support. AB 1280 just simply allows us to show that same support for our leading job creators, small businesses. This is an important step in the direction of hope, and we ask for your aye vote in support of Assembly Bill 1280. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Benson.
Yolanda Benson, California Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, with over 600,000 API businesses. There are many businesses out there that they can use this in order to garner more support. And it's really about local support. It's about helping those in your community. We always talk about buying local, buying local. This is an opportunity when we celebrate Small Business Day to be able to do so and giving that little exemption to those businesses that it kind of looks like a sale when you're looking at it as somebody who to go in and buy something. It is actually a sale for you. I do know that in the committee analysis there are some things pointed out, and we would like to see this go forward, and we look forward to working with the author, Assemblyman Manshine, and the committee to see how to make this bill work in order to go forward.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Any opposition?
Mr. Chair and members, Samantha Corbin on behalf of the California Tax Reform Association. In general, we oppose tax holidays for a few reasons. They do not work to raise revenue. They introduce needless complexity into the tax codes, and they've been proven not to promote economic growth. In addition, they provide an inefficient means of helping low-income consumers and of providing savings to consumers. Research as well as anecdotal evidence from several other states demonstrates that rather than stimulating new sales, sales tax holidays simply shift the timing of sales For example, the New York Department of Taxation and Finance studied its clothing sales tax holiday and found that while the sales of goods rose during the holiday, overall retail sales for the year did not increase at all. Instead, shoppers simply waited until the holiday to purchase exempted goods. This slowed down sales in the weeks prior to and following the holiday. A University of Michigan study that looked at computer purchases during sales tax holidays found that timing shifts account for between 37 and 90% of the increase in purchases over the tax holiday over a 30-week horizon. The range shares due to a wide variety of price caps as well as specific products available. For these reasons, the national trend among state and local governments has actually been not to expand such holidays, but to end or curtail them. Many localities, counties, and towns, and even individual vendors have opted out of their state sales tax holidays. In 2009, for example, District of Columbia, faced with declining revenue, announced a one-year suspension of its sales tax holiday. Later, it was permanently repealed. In spite of what the support said about Florida earlier, both Florida and Massachusetts have a history of regularly curtailing or canceling their sales tax holidays. We believe, in general, sales tax holidays are a policy experiment that has failed across the nation, and for those reasons, we ask for your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. Kate Bell on behalf of the California Retailers Association. And historically, we're very supportive of sales tax holiday bills and have even sponsored some in the past. But typically, they're aimed at certain products, back-to-school products, shoes for children, water-efficient machines, et cetera. And so for that reason, we unfortunately oppose because it pits one retail location over the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Seeing no questions, I was just going to ask the author if you could address some of Ms. Corbin's thinking, whether or not this would actually increase economic benefit or whether it just shifts it. And I was curious why you chose this particular day, since it's the busiest sales day of the year, versus some other day that might be needs more stimulation.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, on your points, clearly it provides savings to the consumer on that day. I mean, to say that, I think I would disagree with the characterization that it wouldn't provide savings. It would provide savings on that day. It's debatable how much that is in total, but it certainly is a day's worth of it. And as opposed to other jurisdictions doing it, there's 15 other states that do it, that provide that option, and certainly localities can opt out. And like anything, that's up to that locality to do that. But as we know from a lot of the people that visit our state, saying that we're not business friendly, the same kind of language we've heard repeatedly from governors of other states, these states are providing that. It is, I think, sending a message to people that we're willing to entertain things that would help small businesses in our state. As far as pushing it back, would it push all sales to that day? I would think that's a pretty tenuous argument to say people are going to wait to make all their purchases for a year or for 6 months on this one day out of 365. I don't think the savings here would be so massive to people that kind of commerce would stop at other points throughout the year, and it would all be dialed into this one day. And the reason why this day, and I would say, Mr. Chairman, too, we're certainly willing to work with your committee and if there's some amendments that would make this amenable to more people about the day. The reason being about the day, though, it's kind of the one publicized day for small business. It was just kind of one that seemed like it would be easier to have kind of a public information campaign carrying on to it, as opposed to really any of the other 364 days we'd have chosen. We really would have been, candidly, I would have just been picking it out of thin air. So that's why this day was chosen. But if I'm certainly, open to any thoughts on if there's other days that would seem to fit better. I'm certainly open to that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great, thank you.
I would just add that it's arguably one of the busiest shopping days of the year, and I think, as Ms. Benson mentioned, we'd be very open to amendments that would make this amenable.
Okay, perfect. So without objection, we'll be placing AB 1280 on suspense, and thanks for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.